Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Runners World podcast with me, Ben Hobson.
And me, Ali Ball.
Ali, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Apologies, my voice is slightly hoarse.
Co-hosting in place of Rick Pearson, who's on holiday. Your voice is hoarse for a good reason, though.
It is. I spent the weekend at Love Trails Festival down on the Gower Peninsula in Wales, which is a trail running and music festival.
Well, and you managed to do both with great success?
Yes, managed to do both with great success. Really went for it on the karaoke on Friday evening. But yeah, third time going to Love Trails Festival, third year in a row. Lots of fun. Very exhausting weekend.
Yeah.
A lot of activity going on, but if you love running, if you love hiking, the outdoors, there's just so much going on for you. I've
always thought the birth of the running festival has been quite a significant thing. Love Trail seems to be a very popular, good one that seems to be out there. So glad you had a good time.
Definitely.
Nice weekend. You managed to watch the football.
Did watch the football. In fact, we rushed back from Love Trails for the football, left it around midday so that we could get home and watch it.
Get home to be disappointed?
Yes, exactly. Not the result we wanted.
Well, thank you so much for joining today. And you're absolutely perfect for this episode of the podcast because we're going to be looking at running from a buyer's point of view. So Ali, if you don't know, anyone who doesn't know, Ali works across the gear section on the website, looking at all the latest things that come in. She works with us and the whole team in terms of reviewing the kit, and we all work together in terms of putting that out there. But Ali's in charge of that, the front-facing consumer side of the website in terms of here's a new shoe, we've reviewed it, is it any good? Here's where you can buy it. So we want to talk about people buying running kit.
Yep.
And trying to break down some of the hard bits of it, making it a bit more easy. It would seem straightforward. Hi, I want to go running. Let me buy some shoes. And then you look at a wall in a shop or you go online and it's very confusing. It's like, what does that mean? What does this mean? What am I looking for? So what's the main question that you always get asked? What's the first thing people want to know about?
Well, whenever I tell anyone what I do for a living, I say I test running kit. They always say, what shoes do you like best? Or what shoes should I buy? And I think that's what people are always asking is, okay, I've ran through my current shoes. I'm looking for a new pair. What do I go for?
Yeah.
And there is so many options on the market nowadays that it would be really overwhelming, I think, to think, where on earth do I even start? So I think my key question is always, what are you running in at the moment? And then what do you like about that shoe? What do you not like about that shoe? Because we've always got this idea, I think, that we have to try something different and that we have to go with the latest and greatest. But sometimes I think if you're happy running in the shoe that you're running in at the moment, just buy it again if you can, if it's still available.
Yeah.
Quite often it will be discounted as well if you've been using it for a while.
That's good.
But then I think in terms of thinking about, okay, what shoe do you want? Quite often when someone's asked me that, I'm going to assume they're only running in one shoe. Yeah. Because we can get into shoe rotations here. I mean, there's so many different shoes on the market nowadays that you've got a shoe for every purpose. Basically, you've got shoes that lend themselves well to easy, slow recovery runs, faster runs, big race day shoes. And it's all about thinking about what you actually want to get out of your shoe, the types of runs you're doing, how many shoes you already own. Yeah. Loads of factors to consider.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that most people probably either established runners who've been running for a long time or people with a slightly sort of newer... There's a sort of a concept now that you must have, and we'll talk about shoe rotation, loads and loads of shoes. But most people will probably need just one good workhorse.
Yes, that's what I like to call it, is a workhorse. I also sometimes call it a versatile all-rounder.
Nice.
So it's something that can basically do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And that already actually narrows down your choices significantly, I would say. Yeah. Most brands, so thinking like New Balance, Asics, Brooks, Saucony, they all have their sort of daily workhorse shoe, their versatile shoe. Yeah. And actually, it makes it easier almost then because you've kind of narrowed down your hundreds of choice to probably 15 or so. Yeah. If you look at it from that perspective.
Yeah. Well, that's good. And I think that let's start there then and I think your point of saying someone is running in a shoe already, we'll talk about someone who's brand new to running, but someone who's brand new, someone who's running already, they've kind of got a good idea of what a good shoe for them is. So there's comfort. And I always think that that's the main thing I always want to say to someone. They'll be, I like this shoe, it looks good. I want to da-da-da. But is it comfortable? And I feel like that's the most important bit. Like, forget the latest model, forget what it looks like, forget what's on trend, what you've seen on socials, all that sort of stuff. Comfort's the king, right?
Yes, definitely. And I think then getting the right fit for you in terms of comfort is so important. So I would always say, generally speaking, you're looking for a shoe that's about half a size up from your regular shoe size. It can vary a little bit with brands. Unfortunately, I don't think it's always so straightforward as, okay, this brand, I'd definitely go this, because having tested so many shoes, it honestly really varies.
We were chatting around this in the team, and some of us were in complete agreement that, like, so I will always go up half a size in Adidas, New Balance, Salomon, like a set number of. But Andy is a 10 in everything.
I'm an 8.5
and
in
you're
everything.
And you see, so we were trying to work out if there was like a secret rule or a hack to get around it. But unfortunately, it just seems that shoe size it can vary from brand to brand.
Yeah, and I think that's because you've not just got the sizing. I think people don't actually realise that the fit of a shoe can vary quite a lot. Yeah. And this is why I do think it's worth reading your reviews online first before you purchase, is because you've got, I've been trying out the Puma Deviate Nitro 3 recently. It's a very narrow fit in the midfoot, and I'm probably someone with neutral to wide-ish feet. For me, it's probably slightly too snug.
Yeah.
So it's worth considering that too, because me just opting for a size 9 in that shoe is not actually going to make that shoe fit any better and be any more comfortable. It just probably isn't good for my foot shape.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's worth getting down to an actual store just to maybe have a bit of a feel to begin with, and get to grips with certain brands, or reading these reviews and just making sure you're aware of the sort of width and everything to do with the shoe before you buy.
Yeah, like get your feet measured.
Yeah. That's honestly the easiest thing to do, is also measure your feet at home. Yeah. You can literally draw around it on a piece of paper and measure it, because some people, like Jen on the team, has 1 foot bigger than the other. Yeah. And that can make you struggle looking for shoes as well.
Yeah, exactly that. So if we've got comfort being like number one, let's go from there. And we've got workhorse, everyday capabilities. If you're going to go for that one shoe that can do everything, we're looking at sort of a fairly mid sort of stack height, nothing too massive, a foam that feels neutral and responsive, not too massively soft or very, very rigid. We want something that's compliant and neutral and kind of slap bang in the middle of all the things that you always read about shoes and all the tech spec stuff that comes out. This is this foam that does this and this and this. What we're actually looking for is like 6 to 10 mil drop, something bang in the middle there. Probably like a 34 mil at the back stack with a 30 at the front, something like that. You know, the sort of like very much bang in the middle, nice foam, good upper, reliable upper. Doesn't have to be super lightweight, super techy, just comfortable. Nothing too complicated about it. Bog standard, deliverable shoe. Yeah,
that's essentially it. And I think price range, what you're going to get for that is probably somewhere in the realm of 120 to maybe 150.
Yeah, brand new.
Brand new, yeah. Obviously cheaper second hand as well.
And if you did some digging around on the internet, you're most likely to find a bit of a discount or a last season's model or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's definitely the ballpark you're looking for. When you've got sort of a versatile shoe that's around the 180 mark, which does happen a lot more now, the tech has been almost beefed up. Yeah. Sometimes it's not actually substantially different, but what we're seeing with a lot of shoe brands now is that they've got this daily trainer, but now that more people are running, they're releasing what they're sort of calling like an elevated daily trainer.
Or a plus. Or a pro. Or
prime. Every brand seems to be doing it now, and it's almost like for the runner who's doing more experienced, I suppose. They're more experienced runner. Yeah. They're probably running 5 times a week rather than 2 to 3 times a week. Yeah. And again, I just want to iterate, there's nothing wrong with having the cheaper version of it. Yeah. We don't need necessarily the latest best tech.
I think that there's a wonderful upsell with a lot of this stuff, and it's like, you know, the product, and we'll talk a bit about the technical spec of stuff and R&D and what validates a price for a lot of stuff, especially when it comes to kit shoes as well. But as you say, like the leaps forward in per iteration of shoe aren't so dramatic that the previous version is like completely null and void.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about updates actually, because I think people have this idea that because a shoe has been updated, they must get the latest version and that must be the best. But updates are a little bit weird and you can't always predict them.
Yeah.
So sometimes a brand goes for an entirely different sort of reinvention, almost from one shoe to the next. And a good example of that is the New Balance SC Elite version 3 to the version 4.
Yeah.
It is a different shoe. So this is like a top-end racing shoe. The version 3 was sort of a first stab, really, in terms of the racing realm for New Balance. The version 4 is a lot more aggressive, a lot more speedy.
Yeah.
And that's one of those shoes where I look at them and I think you would go for the version 4 because the tech and everything, what the shoe is intending to do is so much better. Another example is the Asics Gel Nimbus 24 to the 25.
Yeah.
Another massive reinvention almost of the shoe.
Yep.
And again, I'd say you'd go for the 25. But then you've got the 25 to the 26.
Yeah.
The 26 is currently the version on the market. Really very minor tweaks. And that this is often the case as well, is that the update is actually just a few tweaks, something to the upper. Maybe the midsole foam has become a little bit more sustainable.
Yeah.
And it's really not changed the shoe dramatically, in which case if you can find the 25 on offer, I'd go with that one. Yeah. And again, this is what I mean about there's no standard format. So this is where reviews really do come in useful because you'll become aware of, okay, my favourite shoe has actually been dramatically changed. Therefore, do I want to risk going for a new one? Or, oh, wow, these updates really sound like it's worth going for the upgrade.
Yeah, and there's a lot of trends now within running shoes that dictate what those updates are kind of going to look like. So more and more cushioning in shoes, a much softer foam, more compliant. You take something like the Nike Pegasus. So we're on version 41 now, and versions from like 35 onwards have been dramatically different all the way. Back to your point, you never quite know what's going to come with it. They might revolutionize it or change it in the shape and the foam and everything like that. But even now, like 41, slightly bigger, more cushioned, very different from the 30. If you look back all the way that many, 10 years ago, and what these shoes. So there are trends within running which dictate what the updates are going to kind of look like.
Definitely, and I think the main updates we're seeing at the moment are all to do around this midsole foam. I mean, when you're looking at updates to a shoe, that is pretty much the main thing you want to pay attention to. Sometimes they will tweak little things like heel counters or uppers. So upper, normally they're just trying to make it more breathable. Yeah. Normally it's rare to see a bad upper created. They normally just get better.
Yeah.
Normally, sometimes the outsole has got better traction, but the main thing you're looking for is the midsole, because foams are getting lighter, they are getting more responsive, and that's generally what brands are trying to do, is almost make their shoe more versatile and more capable. Yeah,
definitely. Let's talk a bit about race day shoes, because I think like we talked about the significant change between the New Balance SC Elite 3 and the 4. And the modern day world of running carbon plated shoes are absolutely top tier. This is what you want for race day and all this sort of stuff. How does someone go about this? Because they're so expensive. What's your sort of advice sort of to navigate that sort of buying process? Because you can't really test them. Are you loyal to the brand that you love already? Do you go by the stats of how many shoes, how many races that one shoe has won? What's your kind of like first point of entry on these sort of like super shoes? It's time for an advert. And now back to the podcast.
With super shoes, I'd first really question, do you need a super shoe?
Yeah.
Because they are not cheap. I mean, we're talking probably...
So it's £200, isn't
it? £200 minimum. Yeah. Normally $220 upwards to $290 as the most expensive. Yeah. So first of all, do you need it? Or could you actually just get away with a slightly faster shoe that's still not quite a super shoe, or a more pared back super shoe before you fully make the leap?
Yeah.
Then I think for me, it's about the type of ride that you're after. I would look for that. And again, bringing in the reviews.
Yeah.
Ones that mention the ride, because you've got Instagram nowadays, you've got TikTok. A lot of people have super shoes. And that's not... And just going for the shoe that everyone seems to be wearing. I mean,
promoting at the time.
Or promoting. Doesn't mean it's going to be right for you. I think I see a lot of that Adios Pro 3s around. A lot of people have Alpha Flies, Vapor Flies, and even Saucony, the Endorphin Elite.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of airtime lately.
Yeah.
I'd say those ones are the ones I see a lot of. Doesn't mean it's going to be right for you. I mean, you've got the Adidas, for example, is quite an aggressive ride.
Yeah.
And same with the Saucony.
Yeah, agreed.
If you're actually not used to a super shoe, I almost think going straight in with such an aggressive ride is not necessarily the best thing for you.
Yeah.
And I would maybe go for something more like the New Balance SC Elite.
Yeah.
Or potentially even like a Brooks Hyperion Elite 4 maybe as like a start entry
ground.
point.
Yeah, agreed.
While you get used to it.
And you could you could go for the Saucony Endorphin Speed, or some sort of like 3/4 plate, or some of these other shoes that exist. You can kind of find that middle ground, and like the Nike, the Vaporfly and the Alphafly are very different shoes compared to the Pro 3 Adidas or the Asics Metasky or any of the, the foam is so much softer. And if you're suddenly like someone who wants a shoe to feel more robust, you're not going to, Nike probably isn't for you, and you want something. So it's very tricky to sort of like tap into like what super shoe is going to work best for you. And I think what you say about do you even need one being the first point of call, being like, I think that's pretty up there in terms of advice, because it's, you might not even respond to a super shoe.
It's that as well. I think when you actually look at the research into super shoes, you're really looking at quite a small improvement.
Yeah.
Especially for an amateur runner, not an athlete.
Sometimes at the detriment of your comfort. And you're going to run a better race if you're comfortable, rather than in an uncomfortable race in a super shoe.
Definitely. I do think, though, you mentioned you stay loyal to your brand. I do think there's something in that, because if you're used to wearing the brand's training shoe, often the training shoe has been designed to complement their race day shoe. Yeah. So chances are, if you do get on with that, you are going to get on with the brand's super high-end shoe as well.
It's rare for them to deviate so massively away from the sort of what would be the hierarchy of shoes that they tend to bring out. This is your easy mile shoe, this is your tempo shoe, this is your mid-performance shoe, this is your absolute race day shoe. They tend to sort of, that's now very much part and parcel of like the little silos that they build the shoes into. So I think that brand loyalty stuff definitely does work. You've just got to find the brand, I guess.
You can almost see the brands that are going to be slightly more accommodating versus others. So On, for example, I actually think has some fantastic training shoes, but I know they are quite divisive. I find a lot of people either love On or don't like On, and I think that goes right up to their racing shoe. I think some people love it, some people don't. Therefore, if I was a first-time carbon plate shoe buyer, I'd maybe avoid that.
Yeah.
I'd maybe go for something more in the realm of Asics New Balance, where you don't find that many people who have comfort fit issues with them.
Yes.
So something a little bit safer.
Yeah, I agree. That's very interesting. Let's get off shoes, because it's something that we could talk about exponentially. I feel like that's
definitely.
What about like apparel? Because I feel like this is where shoes, you can kind of see where the price valuation comes in, and there's variations, and you can kind of like believe in the marketing or not. Kit prices wildly, like very the fluctuation between all of them is massive. You can get a running t-shirt for a tenner, you can get a running t-shirt for £130. So let's sort of quickly go into sort of like where that cost comes from, why people would want to or don't need to pay the money for those sorts of things. So I think to start with, I think the really high super end expensive stuff, some of it is genuinely neat. Like some of the pricing is validated, I think, from the material being used, the technical fabrics, the research, the R&D that's gone into this sort of stuff. But at the same time, are you going to get something fairly similar for half the price? I think that's always the argument with this sort of like running apparel costs.
I think there's certain items where you want to spend more because of the R&D that's gone into it. So one good example is waterproof jackets. I think that's the type of thing where you are getting so much more development with the product, in the sense of it's going to keep the water out. It's going to be a lot more breathable. It's not going to feel like a bin bag after 10 kilometers. And all the high-end jackets I've tried, whether that's Montaigne, Asics Fuji Trail, they have been significantly better, I have to say, than the lower price products.
Exactly, and all those ones that incorporate that proprietary technology like Gore-Tex or Pertex, all the ones that kind of like have those sort of like layered systems of wear and breathability versus water and stuff. And yeah, I think that you are looking at quite a lot of money, but the difference is significant.
And I think it's difficult because you've got brands like Saw and Tracksmith that are very premium. Again, I think it's the same with shoes, where it comes down to how often you're actually running and the types of runs you're doing. Because I've done marathons in very hot climates, very extreme conditions. And like Saw's marathon shorts, for example, I almost wear them in every single race now. If you look at my race photos, I've got the same pair of shorts on because they are just so good. I can't explain how breathable they are. They hardly get wet. It's almost like I'll sweat in them. I'll take them off and they'll be dry instantly. And it's just the level of innovation that you don't get by paying for a £30 pair of shorts. Having said that, paying over £100 for a pair of shorts, I appreciate it's not for everyone. But I do think if you are looking to do more running, more extreme events, conditions, that's when it's worth paying more.
Yeah, I agree. And I think on that point with Saw, there's a reason why their race vests are used by so many clubs. Like it's if you are racing a lot and you want your kit to be as light as possible, not interfere with what you're doing, as stripped back, as efficient, as versatile as it can be, they've obviously done a very good job of producing a good product, and that's why lots and lots of clubs in the UK use them as their club vests, as the sort of, they design them in the club colours, but they are the base of the club vests. And I would agree on a lot of other technical clothing. You can just run in t-shirts that are cheap, and you notice that they're quite cheap after a while, and then you run in something that is impressive because it's been engineered in a certain way and it is more expensive for that. And I mean, you can talk about Nike Dry Fit as being one of them. That's quite expensive in terms of and it's not a small brand, Nike. So they've obviously done some R&D into that, and that is it is a very impressive bit of material when it comes to sort of race function and all those sorts of things. So I think that there is some of it is justified. I think that stuff like that Decathlon are doing on the flip of that, Kip Run are producing some good quality stuff, which isn't absolutely ridiculously priced. So there is definitely some material science dripping down through into the sort of more budget sort of pieces, which is nice.
Definitely, and I think even we're seeing it a little bit more with high street now as well. Previously, I've never found high street running gear particularly great. In terms of sort of the quality, I don't find it that durable. I mean, it is fast fashion, so it will not last as long as something higher tech. But a couple of brands that I do think are releasing some pretty decent stuff: H&M running, H&M Move, and M&S as well. M&S actually have some really good stuff from their Good Move range. Both of them I've been really impressed by in terms of sort of breathability, comfort. H&M in particular, their sports bras have been incredible, which as someone who's quite fussy about it, it's really nice to see some sports bras that don't cost £70+ because I know for a lot of women that's a problem as well, and that's a big investment too. So I think certain things you can scrimp on a little bit more. I do think tops you can pay less, particularly if it's just a training top. If you are looking to do a race, and as I said, in more extreme conditions, then it's worth paying more. I do think it's worth paying a certain amount for a good pair of shorts.
Agreed.
As well, because again, you're going to get the pockets. You're going to get the pockets where actually, if you put a phone in it, they're going to stay up. They're not going to fall down. It's minor things.
I think the fit of a short is just, you can get a top that maybe doesn't fit quite great and you'll still be all right in it, but an ill-fitting pair of shorts, you got chafing, everything's like you're tugging them up all the time, the waistband's not sitting in the right spot for you. I think that finding a good pair of shorts is really like a good one. And socks.
I always say to people when they start running, invest in a good pair of shoes and a good pair of socks. Because I think that really does
make a difference.
Make or break the run. Yeah,
exactly. And we're talking, when we say good socks, don't go and buy a pack of three cotton padded socks for £5 from Sports Direct. Like, those are pretty comfortable for just walking around in. Love them. But for running, you need something with a bit more technical sort of pad into it. You get a lot of engineered socks so that the toe and the heel have like slightly got more built up sections, and then across the foot, the arch of the foot, stuff tends to be a bit more stretchy and a bit more comfortable, and they've removed seams from where it might be uncomfortable. And there's a bit of thought and process in there, and you are looking at probably spending 15 quid on a pair of socks, which might feel a bit much, but you probably will notice the difference quite significantly.
Yeah, I guess it's the same as shoes, right? Comfort is really key.
Yeah.
And where running is getting trendier now, there are more and more people getting involved in the action. There's so many sort of products available. In particular, what I've seen is this tiny short trend on social media among women. And I can't, it's not functional.
Yeah.
I've tried some of these tiny shorts from some of the brands that are going around, and I mean,
they're not good.
They're not good. My arse is going to be on show to everyone.
Chafing. My inner thighs.
The chafe. I don't know. Some of these girls on TikTok.
Yeah.
Can they let me know what chafe cream they're using? Because I swear I've tried several chafe creams.
It's not working.
It's not working.
Yeah.
But so I do think consider function as well as fashion.
Yeah.
It's just important to hammer home that, yes, some of these outfits from more high street brands are very attractive looking.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, they're probably not going to be great if you're running a marathon.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. Let's talk about tech a little bit. I think that most people, when they start running, kind of think like, all right, I've got the basics, but I probably might want to get a watch or a bit of running tech like that. And that, I mean, as someone who loves a bit of tech, it can snowball quite quickly.
Yeah.
Once you've got the watch, then you've got the heart rate monitor, then you've got the foot pod, then you've got the glasses, then you've got, it's
a half-hour setup before a run.
Before you charging thousands of devices
plug sockets
before you've even started running. But I do think the upsell on running tech, and particularly running watches, is quite hardcore these days in terms of the latest models, so many more iterations of things, varying prices across a lot of range of stuff. Ultimately, a running watch, from a very basic point of view, is a GPS running watch, which allows you to track where you've run, your pace, your average, maybe your heart rate, the speed that you've run, and your distance.
Yeah.
And that is fundamentally all that anyone really needs.
Yeah.
And then you're sort of getting into very nuanced areas of tech regarding how far you're running, how long you're running, all those sorts of things. So when choosing a running watch, I would say that most people would probably be very happy with just a basic watch.
100%. I really don't think with running watches you need to spend that much money.
Yeah.
Unless you are really looking to get to grips with your data. I think most people don't use half the features on their watches.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah. I've got a Garmin Fenix 7.
Yeah.
And I could probably get away with a Forerunner 55, which is the most basic Garmin watch you can get.
Yeah.
Because I just don't look into it. I get a morning report on my watch and I don't really read it.
Yeah.
I do just think, it's one of those things where at the end of the day, all you do really want to do is track your runs.
Yeah.
And then if you're proper leveling up, maybe to sort of trail running, yes, the maps downloadable onto your watch can be good. And that is a more premium feature.
For sure. And I think with the watch, that you mentioned, the Garmin, that's a premium adventure watch. Like you're going off multi-day, whatever, exploring, you need to know what altitude you're at and pressure, and it does all that amazing stuff. But the majority of people running in the UK, I would imagine, will just need something that locks onto a satellite fairly quickly, gives you your pace, gives you your time. You might want to know about heart rate training. Get a heart rate. I'd say get a chest strap. That's a good investment if you're going to want to look at some data. Learning about heart rate's a great place to start.
Yeah.
But I think running watches are very fancy and smart watches, and people want to have something that does. Apple have done a great job of producing a running, especially in the Ultra, a product that is an everyday smartwatch that does good running, but it costs 900 quid.
Yeah, so expensive.
Yeah.
I would shout out the Coros Pace 3
yeah.
as a very viable option for people looking for a running watch.
Yeah.
It's about £219, but it packs a lot of high quality features.
There you go.
It probably is my top pick and recommendation to people. It's a little bit plasticky, but other than that, really good. I did an Ultra back in February and a lot of people were wearing it because it has the downloadable maps on it.
Yeah.
Really good navigational controls, great battery life, very accurate GPS.
Not really expensive.
And that's all you really need, £219.
I think in terms of smart shopping, I wanted to touch upon like the big sale events that come out for all the year, because there are probably times when people can get a bargain. We do spend a lot of time at Runner's World making sure that we have updated pages around these sales, because ultimately we're looking at product that we've reviewed, and if it's on sale, then we kind of want to let people know because it's a good time to buy stuff. So when you're working on these big sale events and you're sort of digging through all of the detritus that's sort of sent our way in terms of like deals and sales and stuff like that, what is it that you're looking for, and what can people like looking on the site? What are the sort of deals they can expect to find in these sorts of things?
I think if you're looking for tech, things like Amazon Prime Day and Black Friday are the best times to buy, because the prices just are the cheapest normally.
Yeah.
It's very rare that they'll throw a sale at another time of year where the price will come down that much.
Yeah.
So if you are in the market for a running watch or a pair of running headphones, it's a great time to shop. Like you'll probably get 50% off some models, and again, you'll be able to get something better for less. So Shox headphones, for example, the bone conduction headphones, really popular for running. They are quite expensive, and Shox doesn't do sales at any other time of year other than these primary sales events. Yeah. So they're 32% off for Amazon Prime Day. So a good time to buy them then. Yep. So I do think it is mostly your tech. Sports nutrition can also be really good. I'd say take advantage of the sales, because we all know how expensive gels are when you're getting your long run training. Many times when I've gone to open my cupboard and I only have sort of one gel left for a long run, and I could do with getting some more really quickly. So I do think stocking up on sports gels, electrolytes, also a good time. Yeah. Running shoes, slightly differently. I'd say Amazon Prime Day is not the time to shop for running shoes. That's because in the UK at least, I know it's slightly different in the US, Amazon doesn't have that many good running shoes, I would say, on sale. However, if you look at other retailers over that time, they will try and be competing. Yeah. So right now, for example, Nike has some of its really good models on sale for less, same as Adidas. So worth noting that other retailers will drop their prices around these sales events too, and to go and head to them.
That's very good. Yeah. So even in the fact that they're not actively taking part in that said event, they just know that people are willing to buy around those sorts of times. Oh, that's good. That stuff. Hey, well, look, Ali, thank you so much for coming in.
Lovely to be on.
Talking tech about when to go shopping and buying your new stuff. Some great advice in there. Just basically get comfortable running shoes, buy comfortable running socks, a watch if you need one, good sports bra, away you go.
Yep.
Done.
Just running in that.
Great. Oh yeah, some shorts. All right. Thanks a lot, Ali. So that brings us to the end of this week's Runner's World podcast. Thank you so much to Ali for joining us. I hope you've got some great consumer tips there. If you haven't subscribed to Runner's World magazine, please do so. Google Runner's World UK subscription on the internet. Find the Hearst magazine's website. You'll find an introductory offer there, which will be absolutely mind-blowing and fantastic. You'll get 12 issues of the magazine every single year. Yeah, that's right. Please subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already, and you'll hear from us next week.